Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. I was listening to one of my favorite channels on YouTube today, Karma Comment Chameleon, KCC channel. Shout out to you, my fellow Torontonian. And he raised an interesting point. Places like Uber, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, all these companies are succeeding precisely because they're not keeping the overhead of the old companies. Look at Sears. They had their expenses well under control. But an aggressive company came in, took over, divested them of all their assets, sold off like the Sears Tower everywhere they owned real estate. This company got rid of it. Then never updated the stores and let the retail side die a slow death. I hate to say it, that seems to be the way of the future. Amazon kind of pioneered it, where they had a centralized delivery service, and if you just wait there, your package will be delivered. Then let's look at places like Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, stuff like that. They're what we call very nimble companies. They don't carry a lot of baggage except for their infrastructure, so they're saving themselves a lot of time. They don't have centralized hubs. If you know anything about trucking and logistics, you know that you need to have hubs. You need to have somewhere to put your trailers, your trucks, your equipment. You need forklifts to cross-dock things. Now, it is possible to build a company with all that done through customer, partner, and service relationships. But it's a lot of coordination, and sometimes when you get slammed, that third party is going to be slammed themselves, and your stuff is going to get pushed down the list. A company like Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, doesn't have that problem. Hey, how many drivers do we got on schedule today? 10 for a city of 1 million? That's not a lot. Guess we'll just push out the windows. So instead of customers expecting it to take 20 minutes, it's going to take 40 minutes. They'll wait. They want to eat. Whereas a traditional company would have to say, 30 minutes or it's free. That should show a little bit of my age. Back in the days when pizza places had the 30 minutes or it's free guarantee. That's a long time ago. The real trick that these companies have come across is by decentralizing, having a hub somewhere where employees have to go every single day. They got a head start on the pandemic. And while traditional companies were trying to get the resources in place to deal with all these problems, they already had them ready to go. It's the way of the future. Now the question is, how long is it going to take for other companies to start getting into this, what are we going to call it, infrastructure-free business? It's probably a term for it. I just haven't looked it up. Like I said, in trucking, it's possible. I was doing a bit of light consulting work for a local company, and I gave them some options, one of which was that we were going to pick the load up today and send it out tomorrow because there were too many factors to decide what to do with it, and it was too late in the day. Well, then I was told they didn't have anywhere to drop the load. And I'm like, what? There's nowhere? No. Okay, then. I had other options in place. I was just surprised that they had already adopted this infrastructure-less program. And it does save a lot on costs for labor. And if you hear that in the background, my cat's going nuts chasing something at the present time. But it saves on costs, labor, because to have a yard, you have to have somebody there. So what other businesses can we apply this to? This is going to be the most dangerous one, in my opinion, but I think it's going to become pretty popular. Childcare. Yeah, It's nanny cams are already a thing, and it's not going to be a big deal for a child care provider to set up a home, set up 3 or 4 cameras, renovate their basement into a child care, and then say to the parents, here's the login. Change the login every 6 months or so that way creepy people can't just log in at their content. But you say, yeah, here's the thing, the password changes every X months for the safety of your children. You can look in at any time. Parents can send in, I don't know how many stories I've heard of somebody sending in a backpack with a camera in it, and it saves the child's, psychological or physical health. And yeah, babysitting is going to be one of these infrastructure-free places. A place like Montessori school are probably no longer going to exist. That whole preschool institution, unnecessary, because there's going to be childcare available. Expanding the idea a little bit further, and this is when I'm starting to go into insanity, I started thinking there's a lot of people out there that fancy themselves a Chef Ramsay, a Chef Robert Irvine, somebody like that. They're willing to cook at home all day. As a matter of fact, there's already plenty of messages on Facebook Marketplace and stuff where people are doing that. But if they got themselves set up with Skip the Dishes or DoorDash or whatever the heck it is, that might be a pretty lucrative business if you get everything right. Now, there's an insurance risk to it, and there's the fact that you have to have a separate kitchen. Having pets would be difficult because, fur gets everywhere. But if you had some way to do all that, like those people who have a separate barbecue outside, it'd be a real easy way to make some money. Throw some chicken on the barbecue, throw a couple steaks, wrap it in tinfoil, out the door, pay your money, thank you. Want barbecued fish? We can do that too. 20 minutes out the door. The gig economy is unfortunately the future. They already tried to go after the stevedores. Now, what a stevedore is are the crane operators at a port. So those big giant cranes and the ships with all the cargo containers on top of them? Yeah. And they're trying to get them to become independent contractors. And they would pay a certain amount per day for the use of the cranes on site, and then they would bid on the loads. Now, as somebody who works in the industry, this is an incredibly bad idea because you're going to wind up with the cargo ships. They're going to pay by container, pretty much. So you're going to have the cargo ships with 1,000 containers on them, paying decent money where you can work it out all day, and that could be your day's job. And the little ones come in with 100, no one's going to want them. So you're creating an artificial problem for your customers that doesn't need to exist. But I can see something like that happening. Teaching. People are already homeschooling their children. Well, this can be another gig economy. You get the right piece of paper on your wall and you say, here I am, I'm teacher certified, whatever. Show you that you have some sort of a criminal-free background. I guess every 6 months you'd have to get your background run just so you can say to the parents, look, see, my record's clean, I'm good, and I've got 20 years, here's my former students, you can speak to them. There's literally nothing I can think of that can't become a gig economy gig. And that really, it forces the workers and co-workers to operate in a vacuum. Yes, you have your team chat set up and everything, but as much as I've supported workers being home during the pandemic, I do think you have to have a place that you can meet that's for yourself only. Oh, wait, that's covered too. Did you know you can rent office space? Yes, you can rent office space, whether it's a conference room or whether it's a, one simple office so that you go in. It's ideal for like a naturopath or, chiropractor, somebody who's going to see a small amount of clientele. And it's also ideal for, let's just say the boss lives in Montreal and everybody's working from home, flex time. And they need to meet together once a week. So he flies down, drives down, whatever he does to get that down to the Toronto area. He says, we're going to this conference center, ask for room A25, and we're going to do our weekly brainstorming session or whatever it is they decide to do. So, fast food. Again, it can be the gig economy. Now, the benefit to this is workers wind up with more flexibility. We all hear those stories about the worker that's been there so long, nobody can fire them because they have so much seniority and the union has their back and blah, blah, blah. And they hate their job, or people who've done the same job for 10 years. And when I was younger, I went to university and I wanted to be a carpenter. Nothing wrong with being a carpenter. And then they get through their education and they're like, I'm tired of being a carpenter. I know a guy, he trained to be a plumber. He tried it, but remember, being a plumber means you got to be pretty flexible. And getting under those sinks and all those crazy places, yeah, he pretty much wrecked his back from doing it. And now he's driving a truck, which, he's a great guy, but at the same token, I don't think driving a truck is much better for your back than being a plumber, but at least all those bounces and everything. And I don't care, driving a truck is not a comfortable thing. You're getting bounced around, you're going hundreds of miles, and then when you get there, you walk around for like 5 seconds, get back in, get bounced around again. It's like the worst roller coaster ride of your life, and that's for local truck drivers. The ones who live in their trucks, even more so. But the people that own their trucks, owner-operators or brokers, whatever you want to call them, they're proof that the gig economy can work. A few of them carry multiple badges so they can work for more than one small company, and that way, I'll be honest, loads are hard to find in certain places. So by carrying multiple badges, by being registered with more than one small corporation, they maintain their independence. And if two people call up with a load, they can say, I'm going to take the one that makes me more money and takes me to a place I'd rather go to. The same's true with Uber driver. As much as I don't like Uber, and the only reason I don't like Uber is because of the insurance situation. A lot of Uber drivers don't update their insurance to tell them, yes, I'm running a business from my car, and because of that, when they get into accidents, all of our premiums go up. That's my only issue with Uber. As a corporation, I don't like them. Like I said, because they encourage fraud, insurance fraud. But at the same token, I do admit, with their flexibility and their scheduling, it's awfully hard to beat that. You sign on, you get to get the fares that you're given, you get to reject fares if for whatever reason you don't want to do them. I think that's the way the economy is going to wind up going long term. I mean, myself as an author, I finished a commission piece, and I don't think I'd want to do that every day because I want to work on my own stuff, but essentially, by taking commissions, and I do get credit on my commissions, but by doing those commissions, I am building up a small side income for myself. It's payment right away, whereas normally I got to plug a book and make it work, etc. But if you're the type A personality that can sell yourself, you can build almost any business over the phone with mobile offices, with renting places. So the gig economy is only going to get bigger. I mean, look at all these silly little apps that are being developed. Most of them are churned out by corporations, or they're developed by small teams who just want to see their vision come to life. Or somebody with a big YouTube channel with a lot of views decides to make a video game for themselves. All three of those things happen. And a lot of this stuff goes out through the gig economy. Your main job is repairing, whatever breaks in a school, but at the same token, on the side, you're programming your video game, and you're hoping that kicks off so that way you can make a lot of money. The military could even be a gig economy. Now, I'm not sure how it would work for sailors, because, you're kind of in a big ship out at sea for months at a time, but I imagine you would bid on that as well. But for the Army, it would be very interesting. If you're somewhere like Canada or Australia where they tend not to meddle in other people's affairs, it would be a pretty cushy gig. Whereas if you were in like Finland or the United States, the gig would probably involve a lot more. But it essentially renders everybody as a mercenary. The problem with the mercenaries, whether they're military or doing the gig economy, is mercenaries get paid. If you don't pay well enough, you lose them. And it's going to be a real challenge for companies because they're going to want to go with the lowest bidder. I know it doesn't always make sense. Actually, it rarely makes sense because the person bidding higher will generally offer you more. Yes, if there's two identical offers, one person offers you lower, by all means go with them. But if one person's coming in at, 150,000 and they're offering the base install and basic technical support, but you have to call a manufacturer, whereas the other guy's 175,000, he's offering all the support through himself or herself. There's plenty of women computer techs out there. Yeah, you might have a bit of a debate saying, well, the computer systems are pretty reliable now, so do we need the extended coverage? It's like, well, maybe we need it for the first little bit, and then we can drop it back because something always goes funny on an installation. I've been through a few of them. But like I said, that's all gig economy. Essentially, all the companies that have been built up were all built on the gig economy. It's more available to the average person. Don't know if it's worth it or not, but unfortunately, that's the trend in the future. And like I said, go to Etsy, go to Amazon. A lot of these people that are selling their stuff are small operations. My wife and I tried to do it. She found one of those outlets where you can buy a crap load of like purses and shirts and stuff like that. And we were trying to see if we could make money with that. And the truth is, neither one of us really liked doing it. And once all is said and done, marketing secondhand stuff is really difficult. There's a lot of competition out there through Goodwill, through the 10,000 secondhand stores, and that's what you're up against. So to make our money back, we had to do a lot of compromising. That's what I'll say. But the opportunity was there. In slightly different circumstances, we probably could have done a lot better with them. But those circumstances did not exist at the time, and I don't envision them coming up in the future. That's not to say that you can't. Quite the opposite. You put your mind to it, you put your energy to it, you can make anything work. And while we're not at the golden age of the .com bubble, we are at a golden age of opportunity. So start thinking, what are opportunities you'd like to do in the future? Start getting some education, start making some connections. Because sooner or later, that might be your main income instead of your side income. And I don't know how soon or how far away that is. But with that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to click the link down on the comments. Buying one of our books really helps the channel, and we hope you have a fantastic day.